Good morning, everyone. My name is Yan. Today, our group will be talking about the cardiovascular system. Our presentation focuses on the heart, blood vessels, blood pressure, and some common cardiovascular disorders. The system is one of the most important systems in the human body because it keeps blood moving all the time. Without circulation, our cells cannot receive oxygen and nutrients, and they also cannot remove waste products. In simple words, if circulation stops, life stops. So in this presentation, we want to explain not only what the cardiovascular system is, but also why it matters in everyday health and disease. First, I will give a short introduction and explain why the cardiovascular system is so important. Then I will introduce the basic anatomy of the heart. After that, Speaker Zhu will explain how blood moves through the heart and the valves work and how the heartbeat is controlled. Next, Speaker 3 will talk about blood vessels, blood pressure, and common disease. Finally, Speaker 4 will show how the cardiovascular system connects with other body systems and why problems in the heart can affect the whole body. So our presentation moves from basic structure to function to disease and finally to whole body integration. The cardiovascular system can be understood as the body's transport network. It includes a muscular pump, which is the heart, and a closed system of blood vessels. Its first major function is transportation. Blood carries oxygen from the lungs to the tissues, and it carries carbon dioxide back to the lungs to be removed. Blood also delivers nutrients from the digestive system, carries hormones from the endocrine glands, and removes metabolic waste from cells. Its second function is regulation. The cardiovascular system helps regulate body temperature by moving heat around the body. It also helps maintain blood pressure, which is necessary to keep blood flowing to all tissues. Its third function is protection. Blood contains factors that help stop bleeding, and it also carries immune cells that help fight infection. Another important point is that circulation must be continuous. Our cells are always using oxygen and producing waste. That means blood must keep moving every day and night, even while we sleep. The heart continues to beat and the blood continues to circulate. The heart is located in the thorax, between the lungs and above the diaphragm. And from this central position, it can pump blood to the lungs and to the rest of the body. Yeah, let's take a look at this video. It's amazing, right? How the heart beats continuously and keeps us alive every second. Now let's look at the basic anatomy of the heart. The heart has 4 chambers: the right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, and left ventricle. On the right side, the oxygenated blood, shown in blue, comes from the body into the right atrium, then moves to the right ventricle, and it pumps to the lungs. On the left side, oxygenated blood, shown in red, returns from the lungs into the left atrium, then goes into the left ventricle, and it pumped to the rest of the body. So the heart works like a powerful and coordinated pump, keeping blood moving throughout the entire body. The wall of the heart has 3 layers. The outer layer is the epicardium, the medial muscular layer is the myocardium, and the inner lining is the endocardium. The myocardium is especially important because it is the part that contracts and creates the pumping action. Around the heart is the pericardium, which is protective sac. It helps protect the heart and reduces friction as the heart beats again and again. One very important structural point is that the left ventricle has a much thicker wall than the right ventricle. This is because the left ventricle must pump blood through the entire body, which requires much more force. In contrast, the right ventricle only pumps blood to the lungs, which is a shorter distance and requires less pressure. So overall, the anatomy of the heart matches its function very well. The receiving chambers and pumping chambers are clearly organized. The wall layers supported contraction and protection, and the stronger left ventricle is built for systemic circulation. Now I will pass to speaker 2, who will explain how blood moves through the heart and how the heartbeat is controlled. Thank you.
Folks, welcome to the VIP tour of your heart. First up, blood flow. Imagine you are a little drop of blood, exhausted from your world tour throughout the body. You finally arrive at the right atrium. Who is the bouncer? Who is the bouncer at the door? That's right. It's the tricuspid valve. No backflow, no funny business. Just a smooth entry into the right ventricle. The right ventricle pumps out through the pulmonary valve, sending you to the lungs for an oxygen upgrade. Picture yourself grabbing some O2 and a quick tan while you're at it. Now, oxygen rich and glowing, you float back into the left atrium. Here comes the mitral valve, the VIP entrance into the powerhouse, left ventricle. This ventricle is the bouncer's buff older brother. It's ready to pump blood everywhere. Imagine everywhere inside of your body. I mean, your blood right now. Okay. Let's not mix it up. And that, my friends, is how blood flows through your heart. Next up, valves and the cardiac cycle. Valves are basically your heart's traffic police. They make sure blood goes forward and never takes a U-turn. Systole is the phase when ventricles squeeze. Think of it like a strong hug for your blood. Diastole, on the other hand, is when the ventricles chill and fill back up like a yoga class after a cardio session. Let's do a mental picture. The tricuspid and the mitral valves open and close perfectly like a dance routine, while the pulmonary and aortic valves are the flashy exits, making sure no one sneaks back. Pause and imagine them clapping in rhythm, your heart's own percussion section. Fun, right? But also scientific. These moments ensure unidirectional flow of the blood, maintaining the pressure gradients that keep your whole body in circulation, happy and alive. Rest you can read about all the AV valves, semilunar valves, the stole, lub dub, and all that stuff, but the cycle summarizes as the heart fills itself and contracts, ejects, then relaxes again and refills itself again, and the cycle goes on till it does not. Does this heartbeat even happen? Think of your heart as a nightclub with its own DJ and security team. The SA node is the ultimate DJ, and it sets the tempo, the rhythm, the vibe. The AV node is like the bouncer who makes sure that the atria finish their dance before the ventricles join. So, in that case, everything is systematic. Then, the bundle of His and the Purkinje fibers spread the excitement through the ventricles, causing them to contract. That big ventricular flex you see on an ECG, that is the QRS complex. It's a dramatic moment of electrical depolarization. Now, your heart isn't working alone. It's tuned by the nervous system. The sympathetic nerves are hype crew, speeding up the heart when you run, get excited, or see your crush. The parasympathetic nerves are the chill team, slowing things down when you nap or binge watch Netflix. Balance. Balance is a word. Balance between these two determines your heart rate. And finally, the money metric, cardiac output. How much blood your heart pumps per minute. It's simple math. Cardiac output is equal to heart rate into stroke volume. At rest, an average adult's heart rate is around 70 beats per minute, or 75, just saying. And stroke volume roughly 70 ml per beat, giving a cardiac output of about 5 liters per minute, enough to fill your entire body with blood every minute. Okay, so your heart is a rhythmic, electrically controlled, autonomically tuned, blood pumping superstar. Not bad for an organ that size of a fish, alright?
Let's get started with blood vessels and blood pressure. So blood vessels are pathways that carry blood throughout the body. There are 3 main types: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. They receive blood under high pressure. Their walls are thicker, stronger, and more elastic. Veins carry blood back to the heart. The pressure inside veins is much lower, so their walls are thinner and their lumens are wider. Many veins also have valves to prevent backflow, especially in the legs. Capillaries are the smallest blood vessels. Their walls are only 1 cell thick. This very thin wall is important because it allows exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and wastes, which move between the blood and the tissues through something called capillaries, which again are the smallest blood vessels. So if arteries are like highways, this is just an analogy, but if arteries are like highways and veins are like return roads, capillaries are the actual exchange sites where the body's cells receive what they need. Blood pressure is the force that blood puts on vessel walls. It is highest in the aorta and then gradually decreases as blood moves through arteries, arterioles, capillaries, venules, and veins. A normal example is 120 over 80 millimeters of mercury. The top number is systolic pressure, which is the pressure during ventricular contraction. The bottom number is diastolic pressure, which is the pressure during ventricular relaxation. This is clinically important because food pressure must be high enough to move the blood through the body, but not so high that it damages vessel walls. So healthy circulation depends on a balance between pump function, vessel structure, and pressure. Alright, so we're going to talk about some common cardiovascular disorders. So a major problem, arteriosclerosis, which is plaque buildup inside the arteries. So plaque, in this case, would contain stuff like fat, cholesterol, and other materials. And as they build up, lumen becomes narrower, blood flow becomes limited, and less oxygen reaches the tissues. If this happens in the coronary arteries, for example, it can lead to coronary artery disease. And likewise, if it happens in brain vessels, which is 10 times worse, it can lead to stroke. But another common disorder is also hypertension or high blood pressure. So hypertension means that the pressure of blood against the vessel walls stays too high for too long. Over time, this extra pressure damages blood vessels, increases the workload of the heart, and makes other conditions such as arteriosclerosis worse. So they kind of, if you have both, they kind of like become a big combo that kind of becomes a little bit more difficult to treat. The next point is angina and myocardial infarction. So angina is chest pain, which is usually caused by reduced blood flow to the heart muscle, and in most cases is a warning sign that the myocardium, so the muscle of the heart, isn't receiving enough oxygen. If a coronary artery becomes completely blocked, so again maybe by the plaque, arteriosclerosis, part of the heart muscle can die. So the death of a heart muscle is called myocardial infarction, or more commonly known as a heart attack. Another disorder is arrhythmia. Arrhythmia just means abnormal heart rhythm. The heartbeat may beat too fast, slow, or just irregular, and that's usually because the heartbeat is linked to electrical conduction.
So any conduction problem can reduce pumping efficiency and in severe cases may become life-threatening. So when it says it is an electrical conduction, it is usually related to the sinoatrial node, which is kind of like our pacemaker, our built-in pacemaker. So having arrhythmia just means that that pacemaker makes our heart beat a little bit faster than what it's supposed to. So yeah, because of that, it can become severe, again, some cases life-threatening. And usually, for what's in common with all of these disorders is that it usually depends on a person's lifestyle. So stuff like smoking or having obesity or being on a high-fat diet or just being extremely stressed or just like overall just being physically inactive, they all increase these problems, these cardiovascular risks, which means that prevention is important, and most importantly, it's possible. So things like healthy eating, regular exercise, not smoking, and monitoring blood pressure can reduce the risk of serious heart disease. Okay, now we're gonna head over to our Q&A section. So I have some peers who got curious about my presentation, along with questions that they asked about some sections, some parts of our group, and I asked them here today just so they can retell their questions, and I have written down the answers. So if you would like, pause the video before seeing the answer, just so you are able to just think about it. And our first friend that's going to be talking about asking these questions is Dan.
Why is the human heart so important actually?
So it supports tissues, maintains homeostasis, so stuff like that can be just regulations, regulations of, let's say, digestive system, so you eat something and its homeostasis would be like, okay, so here it comes, it goes down to the stomach and then it goes out. Stomach, intestines, out. Stuff like that, and it also prevents buildup of harmful waste.
How long does the human heart last without being connected to the body?
Around 5 to 7 minutes, because it has a compartment in the heart called the sinoatrial node, and that is basically the pacemaker. It's also why it kind of lives for that long as well before it just completely dies out, because its muscle cells conduct the electricity and it just keeps it pumping for 5 to 7 minutes. So Spencer.
Hello. My first question for you, what is the difference between atria and the ventricle?
The answer is that the atria receives the blood and the ventricles pump out the blood.
My second question for you, how does a damaged valve in your heart affect blood flow?
For everyone listening, alright, so a valve pumps blood from washing back, imagine like a gate. Blood comes in, and then they can't go backwards. It also helps maintain blood flow. Let's imagine this, if there is a damaged valve, and the valves are kind of supposed to act like a gate, like a gated community. If this gate is damaged, once the blood goes in, it has the ability to go backwards, which isn't good for anyone, because that can cause arrhythmia, but also causes heart failure. That's when your heart fails. So you gotta be careful if you have a damaged valve. My next peer that has asked questions based on this presentation is a good friend, John.
I'd like to ask actually, what is the correct order of blood flow through the heart? Because there's a lot of stuff here that looks pretty complicated.
Well, it's such a great question, John. I actually have a diagram to show you. So it shows the order, so we're gonna just follow it with my mouse. And it's gonna go from the vena cava, so that's gonna be the one from the top. So the superior one, vena cava, it's gonna go down and it's gonna go to the right atrium. So that's where usually blood comes from the both sides. So that's for the left atrium as well. And it goes through something called the tricuspid valve, which is again a valve, so prevents backflow of blood into the atrium. This pink muscle part underneath, that thing's gonna contract and it's gonna push it up to the pulmonary artery. And that's what that's gonna do, is it's gonna come back from the body and enter the pulmonary vein. And it's gonna enter the left atrium. If you notice at the bottom, the little pink areas here, that the left side of it has more muscle. And that's because it has more volume to pump out. In this diagram, it doesn't really show, the size kind of looks equal. I'd say the valve is a little bit smaller. So imagine all that blood, and you have to force it to go through there. That's what it does. It goes through something called the bicuspid valve, or the mitral valve, and it pushes it through this little opening over here called the aortic valve, straight to the aorta. And the aorta has 3 little veins that go somewhere.
Thank you, that was really informative.
Oh, no problem. The last question comes from my very good friend, Blake.
Hello.
Hi, Blake. Can you tell us what your question was?
Yeah, my question is, how does the nervous system affect your heart rate?
Good question. Well, if we look here, it's simple once you split up the nervous system into two parts. One part is sympathetic, which is your fight or flight, and parasympathetic, your rest and digest. So, especially during your resting and digesting, so that's like when you're sleeping, heart rate goes down, maybe you're chillaxing, your heart rate's lower, you're not stressed out. When sympathetic, in contrast, like, I just scared you. Okay, that's a spike. Heart rate goes up. Maybe you're running from something or someone. Maybe you're just anxious. It shuts down a lot of functions in your body. So, for example, you kind of lose the sense of needing to go to the bathroom, for example, or your eyes dilate. That's something that it does. And essentially, that affects a greater part of the heart, because what happens to the heart is that it starts beating at a faster rate in order to keep up with these functions that are automatically happening. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
Hello, I'm Miriam, and I'm going to be delving into the integration with other systems. The cardiovascular system doesn't just work alone. It's closely connected to many other systems in the body, and these connections are essential for survival. Without the lungs, the blood wouldn't carry enough oxygen to support its cells. Initially, it partners with the respiratory system. The lungs load oxygen into the blood and expel carbon dioxide. Without the lungs, the blood wouldn't carry enough oxygen to support its cells. Breathing also helps move blood back to the heart. As we inhale and exhale, pressure changes in the chest help push venous blood toward the heart. So every breath we take actually supports circulation. But circulation isn't just about oxygen, it's also about control. That's where the nervous system interfaces. The autonomic nervous system regulates heart rate, conduction speed, and the force of contraction. In stressful situations, the sympathetic nervous system increases heart activity, preparing the body for action. During rest, the parasympathetic system slows the heart down. This balance permits the body to adjust blood flow based on changing requirements. The cardiovascular system also works closely with the kidneys and the endocrine system. The kidneys regulate blood volume and blood pressure by controlling water and salt balance. At the same time, hormones influence heart function and blood vessel tone. Some hormones increase heart rate, while others cause blood vessels to constrict and relax. These changes help maintain stable conditions within the body. Finally, it connects with the muscular and digestive systems. Skeletal muscles aid in pushing blood back toward the heart, especially from the lower body, which is important when standing or exercising. The digestive system provides nutrients which are absorbed into the bloodstream and transported to cells. So in an authentic way, the cardiovascular system connects all body systems by delivering oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and removing waste products. The heart is closely integrated with many other organ systems. If one part of the cardiovascular system fails, the entire body is affected. For instance, if the left side of the heart can't pump effectively, blood begins to back up into the lungs. At the same time, reduced forward blood flow results in the brain and other organs receiving less oxygen and fewer nutrients. This may cause fatigue, weakness, and in more severe cases, confusion or poor organ function. Chronic high blood pressure can also damage the blood vessels over time. This damage increases the risk of atherosclerosis, stroke, and heart disease. Since this damage often develops slowly, high blood pressure is sometimes termed a silent killer. The kidneys are also affected by changes in circulation. They respond by adjusting fluid and salt levels. However, if circulation is poor, the kidneys may make fluid balance issues worse and lead to further complications. So a heart problem doesn't remain only in the heart. It rapidly influences the lungs, brain, kidneys, blood vessels, and overall body function. This is why cardiovascular disease is a whole body issue. The heart is a center of circulation, but every organ depends on what the heart and blood vessels can deliver. So in summary, the cardiovascular system has three major roles: transportation, regulation, and protection. Its anatomy supports its physiology. The chambers, valves, blood vessels, and conduction system all work together to maintain circulation. When the system works properly, it supports homeostasis throughout the body. When it's disrupted, the effects can be seen in many organs. We also learned that normal circulation depends on pressure, resistance, one-way valve action, and coordinated electrical activity. We discussed how common disorders such as atherosclerosis, hypertension, myocardial infarction, and arrhythmia can reduce the efficiency of the system and threaten health. The most crucial message of our presentation is that cardiovascular health is directly connected to whole body health. The heart may be the main pump, but it works as part of a larger network that serves every tissue in the body. By understanding the system, we can better understand human physiology and many common disorders associated. Thank you for listening.